It's time to crown a champion. Let's preview Iowa State, Arizona State, the Big 12 championship. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. Let's talk Arizona State, Iowa State, the Big 12 championship. TJ Pittenger will join the show, and we will break that entire game down in the opening segment. In the middle segment, Brett Yormark lays the wood, slams the college football playoff committee. Let's hear from the commissioner and break down his thoughts. And then Bill Belichick to West Virginia. Sounds crazy. Not as crazy as you might think. We'll go there at the end of the show. If you hit subscribe, I get to keep my job. Without further ado, TJ, Drake, former Drake, past Drake, who's now going to preview the game. You're going to be there on Saturday. What can we expect from the Big 12 championship?
Is it the most intriguing conference championship of the weekend? I guess the ACC's up there too, but certainly one that it's all on the line for these two teams. Drake, how you doing, bud?
Great, TJ. The Big 12, absolute chaos. 3 weeks ago, we were promised Colorado and BYU. Brett Yormark was salivating to have those two schools and their exposure in Arlington. And now it's Arizona State and Iowa State, the two teams that are playing maybe the best football in the Big 12. So at the very least, you got two schools that have gotten it right on the field.
I feel like everybody kind of knows what it knows more about Arizona State over the last few weeks because of what they've done. Wins against Kansas State, wins against BYU, blowing out their rival. They've caught the national attention. Iowa State went through a lull through some of the season, and then I don't want to say back their way in because they won the games they needed to win. They beat Kansas State to get it. So I don't want to say back their way in, but like there was a lot of doubt around Iowa State at one point in this year, and we thought like they might end up with 4 Big 12 losses. Yeah, but they didn't. They came back. What has helped Iowa State? Like, because BYU went through that same lull at the same exact time. BYU fell off a cliff. Iowa State did not. What helped them?
That's it's so interesting you bring that up, and that's a point that I haven't really thought about too much recently, but it's 5 straight wins for Arizona State. It's recency bias in college football. The more that you win recently, the better spot you're in for the college football playoff. And that is what Arizona State has done. And Cam Scadaboo has become a well-known name across the country. Kenny Dillingham has become a well-known name as well as they have picked up steam. I mean, this is a fan base, a school that when Arizona State is good, they turn it on. It's a brand that everybody knows and recognizes. They're tougher to overlook because of their relation to Phoenix area at a large market, whereas if you're looking at Iowa State, their closest, quote, large market would be Des Moines, Iowa. They're often overlooked, and they embrace that. Their fan base embraces that. So for those that don't know much about Iowa State, they are as gritty a football team as you will find. They're a football team that does things in an old school way, a la Iowa, corn-fed, big old boys playing the offensive line. They're going to hand the ball off a lot, whether it's Sama or Hansen, and they're going to power run you to death and use their quarterback, Rocco Beck, where they need to. Last week when the game was in the single digits effectively against Kansas State, they're like, you know what? We're still going to throw the ball because we know we can, but when we run it, you're going to know we're there. And those losses to Texas Tech and then Kansas, especially Kansas, that's before we knew the Jayhawks were going to go on this late season tear. And for Texas Tech, that was also a shock because it was on homecoming in Ames. You thought, okay, that's it. There goes Iowa State from 7-0 to out of the picture. But they did what BYU couldn't, and that was recovered in time, beating Cincinnati, Utah on the road, and then Kansas State. The only one of those games that was a blowout was Cincinnati. And maybe that's part of this, TJ, is the fact that Iowa State hadn't blown out a lot of teams here recently, and Arizona State has put the hurt on a couple of people, even BYU, before the Cougars closed the gap.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup. It feels like a couple of just blue collar, which the Big 12 kind of feels pretty blue collar anyway, right? Like, you know, outside of maybe Coach Prime and a few select others, but like it feels pretty blue collar anyway, right?
It's interesting to say too, like Arizona State and blue collar, this #1 party school in the country, and they've got this moxie, but truly you watch, they are a ground and pound, throw it when we need to, and when we do, we're going to make it worth it. That's unique for a team in Tempe.
So what matchups intrigue you the most here? We won't do a deep dive 30-minute preview, but just what matchups, where do you see some advantages to be had in this game?
Yeah, here's what's going to be interesting, and I bring this up a lot. Arizona State fans hate it, but it's true. They're 96th in the country defensively on 3rd and 4th down. Iowa State 41st offensively on late downs. That bodes well for Iowa State, but let's flip the script. For the Cyclones, they're 73rd defensively on 3rd and 4th down. Arizona State offensively 14th on 3rd and 4th down, or those late downs. So this is unstoppable force meet movable object for both of these teams. So what's gonna give? What's gonna break here? I'm not sure. Those are the major metrics that stand out, but they favor each team almost equally. So then I look at, okay, how well can Iowa State play defensively against the pass game of Arizona State? Because look, if I am Matt Campbell, we are shutting down the run. We are going to load up the box, make Sam Leavitt throw. And the big reason why is Jordan Tyson, their number one receiver, their 1,000-yard receiver, a guy who is who's built a massive gap between him and wide receiver 2, is out for this game. So Iowa State forces Arizona State to pass. And from there, that number 10 overall ranked secondary of Iowa State efficiency-wise has to go to work. That's where they can find an advantage. I still feel very confident in Sam Leavitt, who has been a darn good quarterback this season, but without his number one target, question mark. How do you then make Cam Scatterbo more dynamic and get the ball to him in the passing game? Because for Iowa State, this gives them one more opportunity to focus on the run just that much more.
Iowa State, coached by Matt Campbell, maybe one of the wily vets of this conference, right? And Kenny Dillingham, new kid on the block. Is there a coaching advantage though in this matchup?
Oh, that's a tough thing to reckon with, TJ, because you're looking at two guys where usually what I would do is say, hey, this is a Dave Aranda, for example, who really good, really bad, back to good. That's how you know, all right, this guy can go through the thick of it. Matt Campbell, really good, 2-10, now in the Big 12 championship game. Kenny Dillingham, really bad, and immediately in the Big 12 championship game. So I struggle to pick out which of these guys. I do think that Matt Campbell seems a little more, and don't burn me here, Arizona State fans. Matt Campbell, oddly enough, seems a bit more calm than Kenny Dillingham. So if we're talking about the great master motivator, I think both of these guys fall into that category, but Dillingham has the edge on Matt Campbell. But then we talk about X's and O's. I do believe Iowa State has an advantage in that category a bit. And again, that advantage only grows when Arizona State's top target is going to be out. Is there an overall coaching advantage, though? I don't. It's tough to say because Kenny Dillingham is one of the most electric young coaches in college football.
The thing I think about sometimes for Arizona State is how they've had to, and Iowa State has had to play their way in too, but not as much, I think, as you would say. I mean, both teams had to win, so I don't mean to say Arizona State or Iowa State wasn't. But when I think about ASU having to slay BYU and then take down Kansas State first and then beat BYU and really kind of go on this gauntlet of a run here, and recency bias is a very big thing. I wonder who is better suited for this moment. Of all the pressure, the brightest lights of Jerry's world, they don't get a mulligan, right? Like Georgia and Texas do. They don't get a mulligan like Penn State and Oregon do. Like, it is all on the line this week because of their recent wins against teams that were favored. Does that moment favor Arizona State? It's
odd. You can look at it two ways. One is the recency deal where Arizona State is much hotter than Iowa State is. The other, Iowa State's got a couple of players and certainly a good portion of the coaching staff who have been to AT&T Stadium, who were in Arlington in 2020 and faced off against Oklahoma in a game that was pretty competitive. Matt Campbell mentioned in his post-game press conference that I got to be a part of this last weekend. They were 31 yards away from a Big 12 championship. Arizona State has been infinite yards away from a Big 12 championship, this being their first year in the conference. So that gives an edge to Iowa State, the fact that they have seen those lights, the coaching staff especially, and a couple of these players as well. And they have a couple of 1,000-yard receivers in Jaden Higgins and Jalen Knoll, who will certainly make a difference. If I'm going to go with seniority being a thing at play here, you could then push back with Cam Scatterbo of Arizona State, who effectively he cancels anything and everything out because that's how good he is. Again, you ask who's got the advantage from a lights too bright standpoint. The only reason I slightly lean Iowa State is because they've been here before.
Similar thoughts for me on that answer when I think about the SEC championship, right?
Yeah.
I actually think Texas is playing better right now. Georgia's been there. They've done that. just feels like that's a pretty big advantage. Same thing kind of maybe with Clemson, right? SMU's playing better right now. Clemson's been there, done that. Quarterback that's won it. All right, let's get this. Arizona State, slight favorite here. It seems like you're leaning Iowa State, but I'll make you predict it. What do you think?
Yeah, if you ask ESPN, especially after the injury to Jordan Tyson, they have a 55% chance for the Cyclones to win. College Football Insiders has Iowa State 28-27, and Vegas favors Arizona State, which goes against the metric. And I always say, TJ, don't bring your vibes to the analytics fight. I'm going to do it. I think Arizona State wins this game. Riding that momentum, Kenny Dillingham is going to get this team up. And I do believe that this is the biggest reason. When they take a 10-point lead early, from there, you run the ball with Cam Scatterbo. You just give him the ball and let him break tackles. I do believe that's how this will go. They are a very hot early team. You saw it against Arizona, saw it against BYU. If that is the case, because Iowa State tends to start slow, Arizona State has the kind of offense that will grind you down for the duration of the game. I think that's how this ends up going. 28-23, Arizona State wins the Big 12 championship on Saturday.
Big shout out to Kenny Dillingham if he can make it happen. I mean, a huge shout out to Matt Campbell and his program if they can get it done too. Nobody picked either of these teams to be here, and whether that's good or bad, we'll talk about it in our next video. A lot of fun to see it happen, and I know you're going to be there. Saturday is going to be incredible.
Whoa, I got to pop in here to tell everybody that today's show is brought to you by Mint Mobile. I love a great deal as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl out of bed and go through a entire pathway of hot coals just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy, no hoops, no BS. So Mint Mobile says, get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan. I said, nope, that is impossible. There's no way to get wireless for $15 a month for 3 months with their plan. But guess what? The longest that this process took was actually the breakup with my old carrier. To get started, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. You'll see that right now all 3-month plans are only $15 a month, including an unlimited plan. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text, nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan to bring home your number to Mint Mobile. Find it easy. Mint Mobile. 3 months wireless, premium wireless for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer with a new 3-month premium wireless for $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. Mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month with mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. That's Mint Mobile. Our friend Brett Yormark just slammed the college football playoff committee this week, talking about how unfair they have been to the Big 12. This isn't just me. It's not just me, the talking head, saying that, oh, this committee's gotten it wrong. He went on a Zoom call with league reporters this week alongside the head coaches of the Big 12 title game and said, hey, I'm not taking questions right now. I'm going to speak. You're going to listen and not judge. This video, courtesy of the Big 12 Conference. Here's what Brett Yormark had to say about the complete disgrace. That's my words. Complete disgrace that the College Football Playoff Committee is.
The committee continues to show time and time again that they are paying attention to logos versus resumes. I've said that before. I want to say it again. And I say logos because they're concentrating on team logos and conference logos. Strength of schedule should matter, and wins against Power 4 opponents should matter. 74% of the Big 12 wins were against Power 4 opponents this season. Meanwhile, the group of 5 is 11-80. I want to say that again. 11-80 versus Power 4 teams this season. And in no way should a group of 5 champion be ranked above our champion. And I'm going to say that one more time. In no way should a group of 5 champion be ranked above our champion. ASU and ISU each played 10 games against the Big 12, SEC, and Big 10, winning both P4 non-conference games against the SEC and the Big 10, and winning 7 of 9 P4 conference games. Boise played 1 game against the Big 10 and lost. And that was their only P4 opponent. The committee clearly focuses on the wins and loss column. Going by that principle, no 3-loss team from a Power 4 conference should get a bye over a 2-loss champion from the Big 12. I'm going to say that again. No 3-loss team from a Power 4 conference should get a bye over a 2-loss champion from the Big 12. The format is playing out with the excitement we thought. Many of you have asked me, what do I think about the format and would I change anything? And I'll just restate what I've said earlier this season is that, the 12-team format was something I certainly advocated for. I thought it would create a lot of excitement, a lot of fan engagement, and that November would be a month that would be truly magical just based on all the different scenarios that could play out. And I think that's happened. At the conclusion of the season, obviously, the management committee will come together and we'll figure out what that format should look like moving forward. And do we need to improve it in any way? The one thing that I am concerned about, candidly, and something that I'll address with Richard Clark at the right time is I need to better understand, and I think I speak on behalf of the full management committee and the commissioners, what are the key metrics that are being used as we think about the rankings each week? Because strength of schedule was something that was identified for me early in the fall as a very, very critically important metric. And I'm not sure that has happened, at least to date. So in addition to exploring if there's a better format or not, certainly I think we need to clearly understand what are the key metrics moving forward and how schools will be ranked in the future.
Boom. Lay the wood. That is, like if I was a child and Brett Yormark was my father, that was the most college football playoff committee. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. But also, I'm mad. Like, he is the commissioner of the Big 12 and has the gall to sit on a press conference and say, can someone make any of this make sense? Here are the numbers. Here are the figures. And you're telling, I've said this before. This is a business. College football is a business. Well, we're not an orphanage. We're not a charity. We're not going to say, hey, look at you, cute little group of 5, group of 6 team. We're going to let you in the playoff here and give you a bye in round 1. You did so good against Nevada, against San Jose State. That's what Brett Yormark is saying. Would Boise State beat Arizona State in a head-to-head? Maybe. Okay. Would Boise State beat Georgia in a head-to-head? Maybe. What about Texas? What about Penn State? We haven't played those games. I've already told you, don't play the hypothetical. Like, oh, well, we lost a hypothetical. We won a hypothetical. But then when the resumes come out and you look at it, you go, wait, Alabama, their strength of schedule is like 50 spots lower than BYU. And so is Boise State's. So we're already giving you this free pass to, come on, little guy, you got it. You're going to get to go to the playoff. Yeah. But now we have to give them a bye over an Arizona State team that is, on paper, more deserving of a college football playoff bye, of a better spot in this playoff system. And then there have been reporters who have come out this week and said, well, even if UNLV, it was the commissioner of the Mountain West said, even if UNLV wins against Boise State, they should get a bye in the college football playoff over the Big 12. What are you talking about? How does that make any sense? And then the last point that he hit on here is, show me what metric you're using. It's not strength of schedule. Show me is it a Sagarin rating? Are you going and looking at what Pat Ford said? Are you trying to do this like FPI ESPN thing? Show me what metrics actually matter so we, the Big 12, can conform to those metrics. I don't think we mind building a schedule, building a season, building something out that best matches what the College Football Playoff Committee wants. We do it in basketball all the time to meet the net rating. Football will do the same thing if you can land on one thing that will actually matter, not the logos of the school or of the conference. Brett Yormark hit the nail on the head. It's the logos that have propelled these teams to where they are, not the actual football. That is a huge issue. I want more clarity. Brett Yormark wants more clarity. Will we ever get more clarity? I don't know. But we need it because it is unfair how this process is going. And now Brett Yormark is willing to speak out. He's the kind of businessman that's not going to let this happen and just let it float off into the wind. All right, well, yeah, treat us like this. I guess it's how it's going to be. It shows me that more offseason moves are coming for Yormark to make this conference as formidable as possible. I do believe that. He is going to pull something off that keeps the Big 12 well in the hunt. And right now, our conference is not. I don't know, man. It's crazy it's gotten to this point where the Big 12 commissioner has to come out and say something like that. But I'm glad that he did. Coming up, West Virginia Bill Belichick. This is Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Now, I told you earlier in this show that I think Arizona State is going to win the Big 12 championship this weekend in their matchup against Iowa State. Will they cover the 2-point spread? That one is tough, but I do think so. My final score prediction being in about the 3 or 4 point range, that certainly covers 2. And so I can tackle college football action or NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If new customers bet $5 and they hit their bet, you get $150 in bonus bets. That's right. All you need is to go to FanDuel.com. And you can place live bets, too. The latest stats, view live play-by-play, so much more on the same place where you place your bets. And visit FanDuel.com to join today to get that $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That is FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Visit FanDuel. Do it today. If you thought Lincoln Riley to UCF was the biggest headline you were going to get, or the biggest rumor you were going to get this offseason from a coaching standpoint in the Big 12 Conference, got a new one for you. The opportunity for Bill Belichick to coach at West Virginia is wide open. It's there. Belichick, who has worn the Washington Huskies pullover and been interested in the college sideline, is now interviewing, per The Athletic, multiple times with officials at North Carolina. Let me tell you this. If Belichick's on the horn with North Carolina, I can guarantee you Ren Baker could pick up the phone with that man and have an at-length conversation about the head coaching vacancy at West Virginia. And Bill Belichick went on Pat McAfee's show. And if you watch the clip, I can't play it due to copyright, but if you watch the clip, I'll give you the reenactment. McAfee's like, hey, there's an opening in Morgantown. You ready, coach? You ready to get it? Kind of jokingly. And Belichick, straight face, gives him we'll talk about that off the air, Pat. They go, oh, that got oddly serious. Little did we know he was actually interviewing for college head coaching jobs. From the standpoint of West Virginia, I do wholly believe you can outbid North Carolina here. Oh, but the Jordan brand. Oh, but North Carolina. Buddy, basketball is king there. There's a loaded state to professional sports that people care about in North Carolina a lot more than Tar Heel football. You are not the biggest show in town. Whereas in West Virginia, you have the opportunity to go in there and be a legend day one. The legend, Bill Belichick, who's coaching West Virginia football day one. The biggest show in town, the representation of the state. And the pockets are there. Pat McAfee, somehow. Lucrative deal with ESPN, now someone who has a lot of power. To Nick Saban, to Jimbo Fisher, guys who should be in the thick of this conversation, in the thick of supporting a certain large candidate for this job, could sway a guy like Bill Belichick to find his home in Morgantown soon. And to me, with Belichick getting an offer last offseason, it's been reported to be the DC of the 49ers, the DC of the Rams, and turning those down. He's the kind of guy that is going to vet every option this offseason. But if he's already interviewing for college jobs, I don't think he's going to coach the Cowboys next year. If he's turned his attention to this opportunity, I don't think we can automatically say, hey, Bill Belichick is not actually interested in college football. He's going to stay in the NFL. This is from the New York Post, which is a wild thing to cite, by the way. It said the Athletic has indicated there has been no decision on who UNC wanted to hire for the job. And in a separate report by the News and Observer, Belichick's interest in the position is high and genuine. And his school officials were blown away by the interview. So this sounds like when we're talking about, okay, well, Belichick has been picky in the past. Would he actually do this? UNC is the one who's like, maybe. We're just kind of shocked that this guy actually wants to do this. He's 72 years old, and it's cited that his lack of experience in college football makes this whole deal extremely unlikely. West Virginia fans, bear with me. College football fans, bear with me. We are in an era, a new day and age in college football where Bill Belichick wouldn't belong. In today's era of college football, they're paying the players. Supporters, donors, brands can pay the players. You can't do that in the NFL. Wait. Yeah, you can. State Farm has Patrick Mahomes in their commercial. Okay, well the organizations in college football now, due to a lawsuit, are paying the players. It's coming directly from the program, the athletic department. The school is going to pay these players. The entity itself that these kids are playing for, that's who is going to sign their paychecks. The NFL doesn't do that. Well, it actually turns out like the largest NFL contracts come from the teams. That's how you. Well, but in college football today, there's like a trading process. You as a player, you can go into this like quasi free agency called the transfer portal and bounce from one school to the next school. And one school, you could get a DB. Arkansas could get a DB from Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma State could get a running back from Arkansas. And you can't do that in the NFL, but much more stationary. There's not movement. Shoot. That sounds just like the NFL. We have NFL'd our college football. I've said this ad nauseum. In today's era of college football, you need one of two things. One, a businessman. Go find the CEO of Walmart and make him your college football coach, somebody who understands money at this point, and hire a great staff around him, and then start giving kids money. Or two, an NFL coach or a coach with NFL experience. There's a reason a lot of the legendary coaches are getting out of the game because college isn't what they signed up for. Mac Brown said that recently. This is happening in basketball and football. Bill Belichick, all the stuff he dealt with as an NFL head coach is what's happening today in college football. 72 years old, sure, but he's got 6 Super Bowl rings. He coached Tom Brady and built his career, was with the Patriots for 24 seasons. And you wouldn't want Bill Belichick, 6-time Super Bowl champion, Bill Belichick, where if West Virginia picked up the phone, he'd answer. This is a wild quote as well from the New York Post. This is why I read the New York Post today for the first time in a long time. This says, expectations had been that Belichick would return to coaching, though some recent reporting indicates that his relationship with 24-year-old girlfriend Jordan Hudson could play a factor in his future on the sidelines, and many believed it would be at the NFL level. Even recently, Belichick's name appeared in connection with potential openings in Jacksonville if the Jaguars decide to move on from Doug Peterson. So we do have to take into account his girlfriend, who could be like a grad student at West Virginia, by the way. We don't know. I don't know this person's personal life. Has a say, and there could be a factor in whether or not he is on the sidelines. But this guy is somebody who joined the Pat McAfee show or Inside the NFL and has been a pundit and has talked about coming back to the game before. And it's going to have to be the right situation. It's going to have to be something that Bill Belichick himself says, you know what, I'm passionate and fired up about this. But the fact that North Carolina, per sources, has been blown away with his genuine want to come to the college game, his genuine want to coach, shows me that the avenue is there to go to. To me, I do think West Virginia is a lower pressure job than North Carolina. They've got the big Jordan money, and you've got to win because basketball is winning all the time. And if you don't win right away, we're going to be upset. We're going to get angry. We don't care if you're a legend. You just you're going to have to put on for West Virginia is, hey, come settle in and be Bill Belichick, the coach of the West Virginia Mountaineers. That within itself is 2 years ago, this would have blown your mind. Today, it should still blow your mind. But it at the same time kind of makes some sense. The guy wants to get back in the game, hasn't found the right opportunities in the NFL, doesn't see a spot where he can win right away in the NFL. And in college, you don't necessarily have to win right away. He's 72. He can coach till he's 78, 79. And I'd be happy with that at West Virginia. I mean, this guy hasn't exactly lost his fastball. He's won 6 Super Bowls in 24 years in New England. That is absurd. And you have the opportunity to have that guy patrolling your sidelines? Yeah. I think, personally, I would take it. If I am West Virginia, if I'm Ren Baker, if I'm Pat McAfee, I have Belichick on the horn right now, and he is all of a sudden alongside a Jimbo Fisher or a Rich Rod, who sound like they could be in the mix. He is all of a sudden at the very top of the list of guys that I want in the office, interviewing for this job, looking at facilities, talking to the players. If I'm a college athlete and I can transfer to play for, I don't know, whoever they cook prom at Louisville, comes in my living room and shakes my parents' hands, then Bill Belichick is the following act. Uh-oh. Mario Cristobal. Then Bill Belichick walks in. Ooh, I think I know who I'm going to go with there. Steve Sarkisian. And then Bill Belichick walks in. I'm a Mountaineer, mama. Crazy but true. Bill Belichick, the West Virginia Mountaineers. Put it on your bingo card. Put it on your bingo card. Hey, the Big 12 Championship is coming up on Saturday. I will be there, excited to bring to you some live coverage of that sucker. This has been and always will be Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. If you hit subscribe, I get to keep my job. Dose grande.